long lines and the correct way to use them. Brilliant tool, brilliant invention, but they're more of a tool, more of an invention for the owners, for you as owners, for you as handlers, because they are your comfort blanket. They are the thing that gives you control back if your dog doesn't recall, if your dog gets distracted, if your dog is reactive, if your dog disengages with you when you are out and about in a public place. So it puts you in a better frame of mind. It puts you in a more leadership way of thinking. It gives you control back psychologically. So you're not panicking. You're not, oh, crikey, my dog's going to go, my dog's going to go. So they're more of a beneficial tool for us as humans than they are for a dog. But how do we use them? People fall into the trap of theoretically going, right, well, now I've got an extra long lead, so I can just have my dog out in front of me at 15 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters, and it's still getting exercise, it's still getting enrichment, it's still allowed to run around at the end of this line being tight. Not the best way or not the most effective way of using them, if I'm honest. We don't want to look at this as a lead. What we want to do is we want to look at it as an extension of us. So if a dog is on here and the dog is 15 meters away, we're using it as a reminder that we want the dog to acknowledge what we're doing. We want the dog to acknowledge that we want to talk to it, we want to give it a command, and we want it to acknowledge and act upon that command. So don't look at this as just a lead that's longer. Look at it as an extension of your arm that is longer. You know, classic Inspector Gadget. Oi, I want you to come back to me. And that's what it is. So, two different ways that we can use it. One, we can have it dragging along the floor without any intervention from us. And that natural friction of it dragging along the floor, 9 times out of 10 is usually enough for the dog to still feel a sensation of being tethered, still feel a sensation of I'm still under an element of control from my mum, my dad, my human person. So then it will be less inclined to bolt, and it will be less inclined to run off, then it will be less inclined to be distracted and then run away from you, because it still has that element of being tethered, just because of the friction on the line. Yes, I know that's difficult in wood. Yes, I know that's difficult in bracken. Yes, I know that's difficult in brambles. So pick your ground to teach the lesson. You know, a football pitch, a cricket pitch, a mowed patch of grass where it's not going to get tangled. Using that friction of it dragging on the floor, you can then recall your dog. When the dog comes back, reward it. If the dog is getting too far, you've always got the power to stand on it. So the dog then is self-checking, all right? Another way to use it, which is a little bit more difficult, a little bit more complicated, but takes practice, whereas hold it in your hand and give your dog free line, give your dog free rein. So each loop of this long line is slipping through my hand and I'm giving the dog more distance. But I am always giving myself the opportunity to make the line tight when I want to check the dog. So, dog, come. If the dog comes, it takes up the slackness of the line and you just wrap it around your hands. If the dog doesn't come and ignores you, dog, come, check. That is your hand going, oi, come back to me. That is the reminder that we want you to do something. So we're not reining him back in, we're not using it as a fishing line or a fish, you know, it's check, come back. And then when the dog is coming back, taking up the slack, you reward it when it comes back. But the reason why we take up the slack is because if the dog comes halfway back and then continues to ignore you again, you've still got the availability to check it. What you don't want to do is find yourself with no availability. There's loads of loose line on the ground. Your dog still ignores you, but you're pulling line off of the ground and not having any interaction or any physical connection with the dog. So slightly harder to use because yes, you have to manage it in your hands, but it's not forever. It's only used as a tool to teach your dog the benefits of coming back. But more importantly, if your dog makes the decision or the choice to ignore you from coming back, you've got the facility to remind it what you actually want it to do when it is X amount of meters away from you. Long lines, really, really great tool if you use them correctly. They're not long leads. They're just a tool to be able to remain in contact with your dog when it is X amount of meters away.